All right. I am so excited today to have Jacqueline Hopper, who, if you look behind her directly to her left, your right, is a very large copy of her book, Becoming. Remind me the subtitle because I'm terrible with subtitles once.
It's becoming a journey to discovering inner peace.
Inner peace and her beautiful face. And we're going to talk about her journey today, working with me to get that book written, edited, published out into the world and doing its thing.
Yes. I actually remember reaching out and then having the Zoom or the call with you and being very nervous because my topic or what it was that I wanted to be able to really bring out and bring to the forefront. Well, some could look at and be like, that's bizarre or that's wow, and having never met you before, I felt like I got to give this to her in such a way where she'll pick it up and take it. And then after perhaps she sees my vision, go in and sneak in there with would you mind ghostwriting this?
Right.
And, you were like, first, like I remember getting off that call and calling my friend who is also connected with you with her book as well. And saying, I don't even know what to say to you right now. I don't even know how to explain the call that I just had. I can't even put into words how I feel. And she's like, this is happiness. You feel happy. And that's exactly what it was. It was just this excitement. There's like those peaks in business when you connect with something project wise or opportunity wise or program wise, where you're like, oh, this is everything. And that was one of those moments for me, for sure, was the book.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that.
Well, it's true.
So where were you? So before you and I met, where were you in terms of, because to be clear, you wrote your book. So I coached you through it. We went through 12 weeks of pretty intense coaching. I edited it and then I published it. When I first met you, you were and you still are, but you're such a confident, I know what I want person your business was doing extremely well. You were very solid on who you serve and what you did. And yet when it came to writing a book, as you've mentioned, you were a little more like deer in the headlights. So talk to me about that.
Foreign territory. I think that one of the best things that I gained from working with you was gaining the confidence in my ability to express my work, my message through writing. Right? Because I'm a queen of Facebook Lives. I'm becoming the queen of TikToks too, might I add, but not yet. I'm still in the princess mode. But I love to show my face. And I think the thing I struggled with that you brilliantly brought out was like, how do I make this statement and have them feel this statement through a book? And to be honest with you, I feel like I came through excited about the book, but not valuing it as much as I probably could have or should have. But through the process became very aware of this still is extremely impactful, and it's going to make the impact and deliver the message that it needed to make. And so, yeah, I gained my confidence through the process. And it's one of those really great experiences that helped me build beyond what I thought I was confident in doing.
Do you feel like, or would you say that it actually impacted other areas therefore as well? You went into it thinking like, I'm just going to write a book, or I'm working with Elizabeth to write the book. Did it help you to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the book helped me become open to being creative in other ways, like journals. And, but I think working with you got me really excited about other projects we could do together. Does that make sense? I love the idea and feel safe in the idea that I'm going to be able to do more books, and having you along, even if it's like, but wait a minute, we've done this before. You know how to do it. No, we're going to do the same thing we did before. You're going to hold my hand the whole time. You didn't, but because you knew how to really allow me to articulate myself the way that it worked best for me. And with the oracle cards that'll come out in the journals and all the other things that I'm feeling now confident in being able to do and publish and put out, it gets me excited to work alongside you some more and whatnot. But it is, it did expand me and what I felt I could be creatively.
That's so interesting. I love that, actually. What were your biggest fears about doing it? Because again, as a successful businesswoman.
Yeah. Well, as a successful businesswoman and one that likes to control the success within her business, I would tell you that the timing, my gosh, I never thought it would end. Like, is it done yet? Are we done yet? No, Jackie, we're at chapter 3.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that the fears were the timing. The fear was, I think I walked into it thinking, do I really have a lot to say, enough to say, you know, and you have a magic number that you like to kind of get to. And it's like, oh man, you know,
I usually don't tell people that magic number unless they force
I know you don't. That's why I didn't say. Your guides are like over here going, don't give too much away. Your guides are very specific about what we can take you right now. And that's totally fine. But you have a level that you, and it's a really, as a coach, you need to be that coach for people. You need to say, this is the level that I'm going to bring you to. And you absolutely didn't waver, even through my whining and my complaining and my, can we just be done for today? No, I'm just kidding. But I think the fear was of not meeting the expectation that I had for myself, but also that you had. I mean, this was a process that, I mean, did I invest in you to have this happen? Yes, but you were still so connected to the project. You were still so connected to the piece, and I didn't want to let you down, and I didn't want to let myself down. And I didn't want to let like the universe down because of the message that was really being brought through and what they really wanted to be able to speak through the book.
How did you feel about the reader, the ultimate, who didn't yet supposedly exist, right? When you were writing it,
right?
How did you feel about the reception of the book among, whether it was from your community that you've already built or people who don't even know about you yet?
I think I was worried that, am I going to stay on point here? Am I going to lose them? I don't want to lose them. I want to keep them going and build. But I really was excited for them. I was excited for them to read it. By the end of it, I was so excited to get it out for it to make its impact. It really did come from here. And, you know, the book is what created our friendship. Do you know what I mean? Like it really was its own, it has its own energy and it's got its own purpose. And so we really saw that towards the end of it. And I knew it was going to go off and make the impact it was meant to make. Yeah. So I was excited for the reader to really pick that up and take it with them.
And do with it whatever they would do with it. Do you remember the first like email or reader communication you got from someone who you didn't know before? If you don't, that's fine.
You know, the one that sticks out, it's not your question, but I guess it'll have to be my answer. The one piece of feedback that I got that stuck with me the most came from my dad, actually.
Oh.
And, you know, with what it is that I do and with people being open to it, but maybe not fully understanding it, which makes it hard sometimes for people to support what it is you do. There was a lot of points that he would bring up as he read the book. I knew where he was at all points. Let's just put it. I knew what chapter when he'd say, I never knew you went to the Adirondacks by yourself. I did not know. I don't know who this Zeta person is, but I'm excited to meet her one day, which I'm thinking, those are my collective guides and you're not going to meet them one day. I mean, maybe, but that's cool, Dad. And so I think seeing other people try it on, that's what really hits me hard, is when people that might not be fully in an awareness of what this is, trying it on. Yeah.
What a great way to say that.
Yeah.
Trying it on. Mm-hmm. Because you don't have to be married to anything in perpetuity, but to try it on, see how it fits, see how it feels.
Yeah.
and take whatever piece of it best serves you as you move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the most intimidating part of the whole process was when people wanted autographed copies of the book.
Why was that intimidating?
I don't know.
Because that happens a lot.
Yeah. You know, like, can you give me an autographed copy? And it's like, wow, like it's just me. Do you know what I mean? And I think I had a hard time initialing it, although it came from me and it was a birth of mine. Mm-hmm. It wasn't my material. Like, well, some of it was, because you know that I spoke about some pretty deep, stories and history and events that took place in my life and in the lives of people close to me. So it was, but I was just like, gosh, if I sign this, like, it really makes this like all official.
I find that part so fascinating. I've always had a little bit of an issue, like a resistance to signing books as well.
Yeah.
And I would say that it all came from me, because I've been trying to channel up there for all of my years. And hello, we've talked about this. But there is a different level of ownership. And I think there's a different level of almost humility that comes into play.
Yes, that's what I was just hearing them say through you was, like when we are in honor of something or in reverence of something, to allow the ego to come in and claim this through my signature, it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? But I mean, the universe does really want that for us. Our guides, the energy, I should say, to speak in that way, the energy applauds us for our efforts here. I think very few people realize we're on the front line of the whole thing. Like, we're needed in the earthly to learn to expand consciousness. And so they want us to claim our creations. And that was a creation that,
What had you tried? Who else had you talked to? I know this wasn't the first time you thought about writing a book. So what else had you tried in terms of starting to write the book, or talking to other people about helping you write the book, or courses or anything?
Nope.
Nothing?
Nope.
You're kidding.
Nope.
So when was your moment of, got to do this?
I can't, my answers, I'm like, wow, but they're really, I swear to you, I'm being Scout's honor. When I saw your face in like your Facebook profile and connected to your energy, I knew, like, it legit, it sounds so like, whoa, but it's the God's honest truth. Like, when you know your person, you know your coach, you know your mentor, you know your person. I didn't need to go anywhere else. I knew that this would be taken care of. I knew it would be, there was no doubt.
And what were you, okay, so if we take out all of I'll say woo-woo, because you'd say woo-woo, and we have people in our orbit who would say woo-woo. If you take all of that out, all of the, like, I trusted in this and I believe this was the right approach and this was the right person. If you just boil it down to investment, because there's a big investment, right? Mm-hmm. So if you just boil it down to investment versus benefit. So if I make this investment, this is how I'm hoping to see that realized.
Okay.
What was your intention there?
Okay.
What were you wanting to happen?
Right. So I'm taking hats off here. You have to know how much of a struggle this is to not be tuned into answer.
I know.
So I am a firm believer that we won't just benefit from the investment that I made in you had a dollar amount, but it wasn't just an investment that led to a finished product by way of a book, because what I learned was invaluable. Not just about the writing process, but about me and about like what writer's block really is, and, how to navigate that. And patience, like we talked about the book, but that whole process was really another exercise in patience. And so when I look at the dollar, and to be very honest, I don't remember the investment. You'll have to remind me of what I paid you. But I don't remember.
It's like when I buy something, they say, do you want a receipt? And I say, no, I just want to pretend this never happened.
Well, I definitely can't pretend it never happened because it was very beneficial. But I don't, it like the investment if within you, and every time that, I mean, I would even reach out and say, I need a little support here. Send me a bill and do you know what I mean? Like I was always honoring that. But I gained so much more than just someone to help me put a book out and someone to edit at 3 cents a whatever the price is for editing per word. Like was never 4, whatever it was. Like it yeah. I also feel that when someone is considering an investment and it is related to something as personal as this, that we really want to take time to be sure someone is on the vision line with us. And you were always on the vision line with me. You knew my vision. You believed in that vision. There were times when you were like, wait a minute, go back, say that again. I don't know. Do you know? And like,
I was learning some things through, it was a very to be sterile. There was a transactional, and there always is.
Always is. Mm-hmm. Always is.
Because I'm open to it.
Yeah. So, when it comes to making an investment, there's a few things that I would tell someone to feel into. One, how does that person make you feel when you're with them, when you're connected to them, when you're talking about your mission or your vision, or your business or your writing piece, whatever it is? How does that person make you feel? Do they light you up and get you eager to step into it? Do they get you excited about the potential? Do they, are they excited about you and your potential? That's how you know that that's your person. That's how you know that's your person. I also am a firm believer that what I put out, the universe has to send back tenfold. What I put out, the universe has to send back tenfold. And so while it may have not have been to the point where we're at right now, the book that came back tenfold, I have absolutely grown within myself exponentially. And there's other opportunities that I was able to take advantage of because of the process. So it's still even having huge effects on myself, my growth, and my business.
And that's one of the most interesting aspects of writing a book. And I talk about it a lot because I get the question all the time, literally, is how long, the 2 questions I get is, will I make back the investment and how long will it take?
Right. 100%.
Sorry.
I think it was Drew that may have said this. Maybe it was you. So I want to give credit where credit's due, but someone said to me, your book is your business card.
I was just writing a post about how your book isn't your business card, but for a different reason. We could have a totally different. If your book is done properly, right, it's a beautiful, brilliant, business card.
It gets you in the doorway of opportunities.
Absolutely.
That absolutely lead to gains that are far greater than the return on investment.
The challenge with the analogy for me is that a business card is such a sterile thing, right? It's this small little thing. It's all about you. It's got your name and how to contact you and what you do and your email and your website. It's all about you. And you hand it to someone. And then if that someone is anything like me, they take that business card and they put it in their pocket, which then goes through the laundry, or they put it in the little side cup holder in their vehicle where it then disappears, or they just flat out put it in the trash. Yeah. So a book actually, if done in my world, in not the best way, I won't say the wrong way, but not the way I do it.
Sure.
It can behave much the same way. And if your reader takes it and just kind of goes, oh God, what was that? Or what is this? I can't get through this. Then it's not a terribly effective business card. Yeah.
It's not. And I also think, I wouldn't go and hand my book out to just anybody. I'm not going to go to the mechanic. Although if he was open to it, I would be like, hey, read my book.
Sure.
But it's just, you also have to you have to honor the energy behind the people as well.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, when I talk about this, very few authors make their money back through book sales alone. Does it happen? Absolutely. Absolutely. It happens. Is it the most common way to make your money back? No. To your point, it opens up all kinds of doors and opportunities and things that you just would be like, What?
Yeah.
I had a client who was offered a 7-figure job that was turned down, I might add, but because someone read his or her book. I'm trying very hard to be not gender non-specific here.
Right.
I've had, people brought onto stages and been, $20,000 to speak for 45 minutes. And it doesn't have to be at that super high level too. I've also had clients, and I know this has happened to me too, have amazing personal breakthroughs while writing the book that actually allows you to step into your next level.
Yeah. And your power.
And your power. That's really
absolutely
who you really are, and recognize what's been holding you back. And in doing that, now you're positioned to be able to go out and ask for what you really want, because you know what the heck you really want.
Right. Exactly.
So it's kind of like there's this interesting consulting, coaching flip-flop that goes on, because a lot of what I do is in the coaching, in the consulting realm. It's like, this is how do you publish a book? This is how you publish a book. How do you get an ISBN? This is how you do it. This is how you don't do it, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of it becomes unlicensed therapy. And then sometimes it's like, I think you need licensed therapy. Not you. But like, sometimes we unearth things that are like, gosh, I think I need someone to help me figure this out so that I can move forward.
And that's healing.
Right.
And a book is very therapeutic, and it can be a very healing process, and some I've heard, and mine did too. You start off with an intention to write a book, and then by the time it ends, it's a totally different piece than what it originally started out to be.
Talk about that, because that was an interesting.
Yeah, it really was. I think for me, staying true to my mentoring style. I'm all about the journal. I'm all about the journaling and that process, and really how beneficial it is to support us in just stringing the thoughts together, and then owning the thoughts we just had, kind of a thing, and understanding where we are and why we're where we are. And so it wasn't going to be part 3 in the book. It wasn't going to be part 3. And then it was like, you know what? We really need to put some journal prompts in here, because it's always something I'm brought back to, especially with clients. Like, what have you journaled around? You need to journal around it, because it helps us stay in our power. Right. And so if the book's going to be one that helps you becoming a journey to discovering inner peace, like, how do you not discover inner peace without a journaling experience, or practice, I should say?
Yeah.
And that's really what, it pivoted from a story and channeling to, also being able to support the reader with tangible ways that they can work through the energy. And the pause, the pause was also something that kind of got added in there, because it was just something that continuously came up, and it was like, holy moly macaroni, to have that.
And how did you feel about that part of the process? I totally just interrupted you, and it's like one of those sorry, not sorry moments, because thank you for bringing that up, because there are a couple different schools of thought and ways that you can write a book. And one is to get very concrete on your outline and to just execute. And I'm not here to suggest that that's wrong. How did you feel about, we were doing a good bit of pivoting and massaging of things and letting it evolve without letting it evolve in perpetuity. We're not still working on it today because we were using that as a procrastination technique, but we did. Right. How did you feel? How are you feeling about that?
I think that for me, I think the way you held space and just allowed what's your purpose for this book, and me really explaining it. And the beautiful part about your half of it was that you didn't know as much as you may know today. You didn't. And so you're inquisitive, like, what does that mean? And how does that, okay, well, tell me more about, really led to also you thinking about the reader and what they might want. Because I think as authors, we become so attached to what it is the book is going to be, that if we could leave room or have someone soundboard and say, well, let's assume someone doesn't know what that means, or let's assume someone doesn't know how to do that, how would we go about it? That was the best part of my investment, was that I was able to actually create more from it, by allowing you and I to kind of banter back and forth about what it was. And it was recorded. That's the other thing that I think, for the investment, having recorded sessions that even today I could go back and listen to. And sometimes I do when it comes too long between our conversations and such.
You just need to hear my voice.
I need to hear your voice. Yeah, absolutely.
And no one has ever said.
But when it came to the pause, with channeling, the guides are going to give us what we need when we need it. And so I didn't have.
If they talk to you,
Roger's very present.
I have to call you and ask, what are they saying to me?
Yeah. But I mean, they came through with it right when the book was ready to actually absorb that next level of information, part 2. So yeah. And it felt natural to me and easy to me. Sometimes I was like, gosh, if I tell Elizabeth we're going to add this, she's going to be like, oh my gosh, like more, like, or this too, or this is another concept. And how do we, but it all really came together really perfectly.
What surprised you the most?
What surprised me
about the process?
Gosh, I'm not easily surprised. So
I know you're kind of a hard person to interview for this because your mindset is already so unique.
I don't know. What was like, what was I supposed
That's why everyone needs to be working with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh gosh, this is like a tough one.
You're very open. I think that's a great lesson that I took from you in this whole concept, because you mentioned earlier that like literally 30 seconds ago that you were a little bit nervous that, oh, Elizabeth, I want to add something. And that I was going to be like, oh my goodness. Yeah. But sometimes from my standpoint, I worry that I'm going to suggest something and there's going to be resistance, because I know there's going to be resistance at some point in the process. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. The book would have already been written and published. There's going to be, and you are so open to like, okay, let me consider that.
Right.
Yeah.
What
felt the most, where did you feel the most resistance? Was it, I don't want to lead the witness here.
Oh, I know exactly where.
Okay.
And I know that, I think the most resistance that was felt was when I was asked to actually be a bit more vulnerable or at a deeper level. And one of the things that I learned through the book process was actually how to go there. Because, when you are on social media and you are portraying what you think people really need to know or what you think they want to know. And when you, how do I want to say it when you're not a perfectionist, but you can identify or fall into me with a way that you want your Instagram to look and you want your Facebook to look. And there's a level of energy that you're going to make sure that this has. And if you're not feeling it, you're not going to go there. And all of the things like I think one of the fears going back to that question was if I tell them something and they see me in that fear, like the judgment that could come from it. But I'm also, like you said, very in that mindset of, whoa, that's judgment. We need to work on that and heal that up. But I think that what gave me pause was sometimes the questions about, can you get a little bit more vulnerable with that here? Or can you give an example of that? That was another one, because we would channel on stuff that I actually haven't had like an example of that. Like, oh, okay. Like we need an example now. She wants an example now, so sometimes it would stretch a little bit of even the information that was coming through, which was fun too, because I love to ask them questions and sometimes we run out of questions.
Well, I never run out of questions, but as you know, one of the things that you said something really interesting, and I've experienced this multiple times where when I ask for an example, the author realizes that there actually hasn't been an example of that thing happening in like 3 decades, which then leads them to realize that it's just an old story that they're still continuing. And that's a great example of how we learn about ourselves while we're writing the book.
Yep.
And those pieces have a place. And you had several instances in the book where your learnings, your realizations made their way into the book because it informed the rest of the content.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Which,
And I think too, one of I guess it is a pleasant surprise is that when we would have conversations and I would talk to you about some of the beliefs that I have or my truths and realizing that, that's wow, like that it's not normal or that it is a little bit higher level, if that makes sense. And like being able to own that higher level that I'm at, because it's just it's such a consistent thing. It's such a natural thing. It's such an everyday thing that you don't give yourself enough credit. We don't give ourselves enough credit for where we are and what we can do until someone comes in and it's not normal for them, or it's not something that they, like when we talked about the universe being full of itself and you were like, oh my God, that's like the best thing ever. Like, holy cow, tell me more about it. It's full of love. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, yes.
It's the way that you and anyone, but in this case, it's the way that you explain things in a way that I've never before heard. It doesn't mean that no one's ever tried to explain the concept to me. It simply means that other people's words for that concept weren't like piercing the skull here. The way you explained it, it was like, oh, it's like when someone tells you a joke and you don't get it, and then someone takes a minute and explains it, and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. 20 minutes later, that's amazing.
Right. It was that level of, oh my gosh. Okay. And when I can realize that I'm not a unicorn. So I'm not the only person on the planet who's going to go, oh, now that makes sense. So the idea of someone being full of themselves, the universe being full of itself, I mean, that explanation in and of itself is a great reason to read the book.
100%. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And so like having those moments of like, oh my gosh, like this isn't something that is quote unquote normal, right? Or that someone else also sees in the same way. And I think for me, it's like, wow, this is teaching someone, you at the moment, it would be bigger, towards, once the book was launched. But at that moment, it's like, holy cow, she's learning something from this. And it really was exciting to show up for each of our sessions and continue to dig deeper, because through your questions, more was revealed, not just to you, but to me as well. That was the fun part.
Well, I loved every minute of it, and I can't wait till the next one.
Me either.